Hello, it's July 31st and I've been making stuff. I got back onto TikTok recently, started just making videos and posting some things on Instagram and just starting to create a little bit more indiscriminately. And I think like part of that is this practice that I'm going through right now of just like making things, of like continuing to make stuff. It's similar to like what I'm doing here with this series, and it's actually interesting. A friend of mine, B, has started making videos on TikTok, and I've started seeing like these like 100-day public speaking challenges, and I kind of went the more, I don't know, like a little bit extra route of making like, instead of like 1 minute videos for 100 days, it's like I said initially 90 days. I'll probably get up to 100 or more, and these videos have been like 20 minutes or so. And I guess I just like to talk a lot, or I have that. It's just what happens. It's funny because at work it's the same thing when I'm talking to staff and things like that, or students that I have. The rest of the team kind of knows, and luckily that we have the time where I'm working, so that I can have that luxury. So talking is not necessarily the challenge. Talking in an engaging way, I guess, is a little bit of a challenge in this format because like I got no feedback, but that's okay. I'm getting used to that, of just talking, throwing things out there and letting it sit. I started doing what I was doing for TikTok is actually starting to use drafts and some of the features in it. It's funny because like when I first started using TikTok, I was like trying to figure out like the right way of making content. And for whatever reason, that seemed to be like, make it right the first time. Like, don't make any mistakes. Be perfect. And that was really like a stopping point because it just became really hard to make content that way. Because like, it's like nobody's perfect. So one was like not worrying about perfection so much. And the other thing that I started doing was using drafts, which is kind of like a little bit of an inspiration from doing these things, of using, like just recording something and then letting it sit there for a while. It's almost like letting it incubate or cook. And partly what happens there is like, I get that distance between when I've made the thing and when I posted the thing, so that when I go back and look at the video that I made, I've kind of like, oh, like what's the content in here? And I kind of forget what's in there. So then posting it separately is just a little bit easier because it's just like, here you go. So that's kind of what's been happening with this. And it's just like how everything is like a little bit separated, which is cool. I think that's almost how like scheduled content and stuff like that works, you know? And being able to schedule that content gives, would probably give me like ways of planning ahead. So I do have time to like sit back and like look at the content in the videos that I'm creating. I'm beginning to get a little bit more intentional about that. I think today's the 31st. So the first Half-Truth series came out talking about how you're the problem. And the first two were a little bit off the cuff, similar to this one. But because those ones are not coming out as often, I can afford myself that time to plan a little bit and make some topics. There was something else I was doing as well, which I can't, oh, like making TikToks. That's just like random. That's pure randomness. And that's okay. The other thing that's a little bit of random about that is having fun, remembering to have fun. Because if I'm not having fun, then why am I doing anything? It's kind of silly. So initially, like when I was approaching that platform, I was like, oh, I gotta like make something engaging and say something. And then a little bit of inspiration from my friend Christian, who's like making like these POV videos where you got like the text on screen and then she's kind of acting out the, whatever the caption is. It's like, oh, that's cool. So then it's like, gotta have a little bit of fun with that, because what's the difference, right? The difference is my experience of it, where my experience could either be like I need to like tweak and make everything like really perfect, or I could just do something, throw it out there and call it a day and keep on moving on. So in terms of like the content, like that's kind of really coming together in the sense that I'm learning to use the platforms and really using this time of practice as that, like to practice just making and putting things out. The thing that I'm getting more intentional with actually is the program that I'm putting together. And rather than like starting at this area of program, like this huge chunk, like I've spent like maybe the last 6 months and focused time in the last 3, putting together a program to structure kind of like a transformation for future clients. And it was a huge chunk, it's a lot. So recently, a couple conversations have really helped me get to this place. So one was with Adrian, just talking to her about like, I can't remember how it came up, but I was talking about like some of my social media posts, I think. And then she's like, well, you have to have something to sell, because like all of these like posts are great, they're fun, but without something specific, nobody's going to be able to buy anything from you. I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. And then even at that time, I was like thinking of how to take that big program and like shrink it down. What then happened was I had another conversation with a friend of mine, Anjana, and she was talking about how to get more specific with that. And I mentioned this in earlier days. And that's kind of where I got the kind of pull to pivot into something that's a little bit more service oriented, because partly it's like using the framework that I've put together to actually make changes for people in an official way. I've done this in various different ways on different levels with individuals, but I think what I've put together is a way that I would like to engage with clients to help with specific changes. So looking at limiting patterns, which are like limiting patterns that show up in your life, to move through them. And that's kind of like one way that our problems manifest. It's funny because on the end of somebody creating and doing the work of like providing a solution, I'm creating solutions, but then to talk about the solutions, I have to understand the problem or be able to talk about the problem more clearly so that people can connect with it, right? And be like, this is the problem, this is the solution. It sounds very simple, but when you're in it, just like with any problem, anytime you're in the problem, it's more difficult to see anything outside of it, because it's just the frame that you exist in. So that's a couple of the things that's been going on recently. And it's nice. One of the meter sticks that I always look for is understanding whether I'm feeling my signature theme of success as a projector or my not self theme of bitterness. And I started noticing that when I was like making content, like writing and thinking about like pushing through. So I noticed that whenever I'm like trying to push through to do something, produce something, to finish a piece of content, or even feeling like that pull of like, I need to post something on TikTok. For me, there was always like in certain situations, there's a layer of like, I'm doing this because I want to be seen. And yes, I do want to be seen, but I don't want to work from a place of being seen, because then I just create things that I think other people want, and it's like this whole terrible cycle. And then it doesn't really feel like success, especially when I post it and then it's like nobody responds. Not nobody, but I'm being dramatic. If you don't know by now, I'm a little bit dramatic sometimes. So that's been kind of the last little bit for me. I'm happy with that, because I'm feeling the flow of things, that I'm moving in the right direction. So I expect that in the next couple weeks, like this will really come together. I said to my friend, I said to Anjana that, she offered to be a bit of a accountability partner. And I said, oh, I'll work on this 1-pager or 2-pager of like describing the service that I want to provide. in the next 1 or 2 weeks. And then I went home and I did it like immediately because I was so excited about it. It just felt like the right thing to do. It was that pull to do it. So I'm going to continue to follow that pull and let the world move me the way that I need to be moved. For now, I'm out.